For today's top stories, let's go over to the CBN News Desk.
Gordon, Egypt's government has started a month-long state of emergency throughout that country. It began when the army stormed 2 large sit-ins by the Muslim Brotherhood. They were protesting the ouster of former President Mohamed Morsi. Chris Mitchell brings us the latest.
More than 300 protesters were killed and thousands wounded when the military cleared the 2 protest camps of the Muslim Brotherhood in Cairo. More than 40 police died during the fighting. While many nations, including the U.S., condemned the violence, Egyptian authorities said they couldn't allow the anarchy to continue within their own capital. Some Egyptian media also reported the Muslim Brotherhood used the camps as mini terrorist bases to torture and murder collaborators and rape women. Despite the military crackdown, the Muslim Brotherhood called for more demonstrations.
Anyone who thinks the Muslim Brotherhood is just going to go quietly here, just go away and accept military rule, does not understand the Brotherhood, does not understand their ideology, does not understand their history.
CBN News terrorism analyst Eric Steckelbeck and author of The Brotherhood, America's Next Great Enemy, warns the end is not in sight.
This is a group that is steeped in violence, in jihad. They're the original modern Islamic terrorist group. I predict and I fear that the Brotherhood will declare a jihad against the Egyptian military. Things will get bloodier and a whole lot more nasty before they get better.
During and after the crackdown, things got much worse for Egypt's Christians. The Muslim Brotherhood and their supporters attacked dozens of churches, Christian businesses, and individuals. The Muslim Brotherhood blames Egypt's Christians for supporting the ouster of Mohamed Morsi. Their retaliation is putting Egypt's Christian minority at great risk. They're asking Christians worldwide to pray for their protection. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
And there is growing evidence of a Muslim Brotherhood connection to the attack on the U.S. Embassy in Benghazi. CBN News contributor Raymond Ibrahim reports exclusively on the details in his latest blog. He writes of warnings about the September 11, 2012 attacks and even Egyptians recognizing the links. Ibrahim writes, the Egyptians believe the U.S. government is fully aware and desperately pushing for the release of Brotherhood leadership, lest when they are tried in Egypt's courts, all these scandals become common knowledge. You can find the full story on Raymond's blog, Ibrahim, Islam Unveiled, at cbnnews.com. A coalition of church and ministry leaders is calling for legislation to end the ban on political endorsements from the pulpit. The group developed their recommendations at the request of Iowa Republican Senator Charles Grassley. His office has investigated tax-exempt groups. The coalition wants a law that would allow political sermons during worship services as long as tax-deductible contributions are not spent on political campaigns. The chairman of the group says the current law stifles what pastors can say because they're afraid their churches might lose their tax-exempt status. Opponents say there's no need to change the law because it would intertwine religion and politics and endanger both. A new group called Voice of the Voiceless says tens of thousands of people have left the gay lifestyle, but they're intimidated into silence. The group says ex-gays are often harassed and deserve legal protection against discrimination. Ephraim Graham has that story.
In the volatile debate over sexual orientation, the voices of ex-gays are rarely heard. But a new organization, Voice of the Voiceless, wants to change that.
I have been free of the obsession, the compulsion of same-sex attraction for over 40 years.
After years of effective therapy, I realized that being gay was not really a true expression of who I really am, and changed to ex-gay.
They also told of rejection and hate.
I have suffered more discrimination and intolerance as an ex-gay than I did when I actually was in the lifestyle. Many ex-gays are afraid to come out of the closet because of the harassment that we receive.
Founder Christopher Doyle told CBN News Watch it's time the world listen to ex-gays.
We're just simply saying that we want a seat at the table. We want our voices to be heard.
Doyle is asking for legal protection from discrimination due to sexual orientation and says states should stop efforts to ban therapy for those seeking to change.
They're literally trying to take away the choice to come out of homosexuality and pursue heterosexuality. And so we're simply saying that we deserve to be protected and our rights not infringed upon by these activists who only want one viewpoint to be heard on this issue.
Ephraim Graham, CBN News.
Doyle estimates there are tens of thousands of ex-gays, but no one really knows. He says many do not come forward because of intimidation and hostility from gay activists. Oregon plans to follow up on a complaint a gay couple filed against a Christian-owned bakery. The gay couple asked the bakery to make their wedding cake, but the owners of Sweet Cakes by Melissa refused on religious grounds. The Bureau of Labor and Industries decided to investigate whether the bakery violated Oregon law. A 2007 law protects against discrimination of homosexual, bisexual, and transgender people in public accommodations. Exemptions from the law extend to religious organizations, but not private businesses. In Nigeria, Islamic militants are suspected in the massacre of 44 people praying in a mosque. The radical Boko Haram seeks to impose strict Islamic law in northern Nigeria. That group has carried out attacks on Christians in recent years, but it's also attacked mosques where clerics have spoken out against its bloody tactics. In a recent video, a Boko Haram leader says the group is strong enough to go after the U.S. You can get the latest from CBN News by going to cbnnews.com.